Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, something a little different today, as I was a little bit worn out yesterday when I was supposed to start building, so I thought I'd take a jump back in time. So back when I first started the channel, this is the build I was actually working on at the time. And we're staring at the character, basically, because I was watching a lot of Arrow at the time, and quite impressed with the performance of Manu Bennett as Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. So that's who I modelled this character on. And I was just sort of beginning to watch no respawns, figuring out glitches, stuff like that, way back when. And this is what I was building at the time, so it's rather rough and ready, but I thought it might be interesting to see where it came from. So, as you can see, the walls getting reasonably close together, and they're looking okay. They are horribly repetitive, but they are functional at least. I haven't got massive gaps in them. So, yeah, I had hoped to start off with... Oh my god, look at that floating balcony. I had hoped to start off with a new build for starting the new year, but I'm sort of still thinking about it and toying with ideas and stuff, and to be honest I was knackered last night, so this is somewhat easier and kind of interesting anyway. I happened to stumble past the save file that I thought I'd lost, so got a rather secure entrance here. The idea behind the build, see where Egret tours here, is that it was somewhere that would make a kind of villain's headquarters or stronghold. So I sort of started off with that idea. All the settlers are geared up as sort of mercenaries, that sort of thing. So we've got our very basic sort of guard post over the door here. You can sort of see some of the things that I still do in some way, hopefully with considerably more proficiency, but some of the ideas are still there. It's, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting to see where a lot of the stuff came from. So, at this stage we had no mods either. It was just after Far Harbour had dropped, I think, so I think that's as much as the DLC as we had as well. Wasteland Workshop, Automatron and Far Harbour. So we've got the concrete that I had a little bit of a play with. But it seemed to make sense for making an armoury out of. It's very, very blocky and boxy, but somewhat unavoidable with concrete, unfortunately. Right, let's take a look inside. Very basic, didn't have anything really to help me junk decorate, so it's a case of manually placing stuff, which is, yeah, still is a drag really. I also have no idea what I was thinking with the decoration, because I can't remember whether the character was going to go with any particular faction or not. It was, 18 months plus now. But yeah, my building at the time was significantly improving compared to the utter trash it was before. Which is, yeah, still a long way to go, but it's kind of interesting to see where I was back then. Little trading post going on there. It's just the caravan traders base that's in the background there with a load of decoration around it. And the bus there has got some beds in, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Just gives the caravan traders somewhere to hang out. So I was rather fond of the potted plants at this stage as well, which those are very vanilla. So they're on one of the one of the picket fences magazines anyway. Or at least that was the only way to get them at the time anyway. This is obviously being well prior to the advent of USO. I'll head up and have a look at this guard post at the back. This awful floating entrance. That's the biggest thing that I'm glad I've got around. I don't tend to leave things just floating out in the air like that anymore. But it's kind of interesting to see. It does work. Had a bit of a battle with sort of pathing, which is why I've got these little staircases here. There's a few places you can see where I've tried to deal with that, but... Ooh. Very, very floaty wall. Not good. To be fair, building onto a slope like this is just still a pain anyway. If you don't have it floating, then the wall's so low it looks like it'd just be hopped over, so... There we go, we've got a back entrance here. A lot of the caravan traders actually approach from this angle, so... I think. Possibly I was just hoping that they would, so they wouldn't trail right through everything, I can't remember now. A few basic generators, the selection was a little poor back then. I just stuck them out of the way around here. I don't think I ever actually finished the settlement off, to be honest. I think I ended up starting a new save that I was dedicated to building on. Or specifically for building with, rather. Which is, I think, one I'm still using, to be honest. But, yeah. Some major floatage going on there. There's a few bits of support there. Yeah, nowhere near enough. I was sort of starting to figure out glitching things into walls as well, so you can see a few places around where I've repaired things. And it's very, very vanilla at this stage. It's all the, as I say, obviously all the mods aren't here, so all the stuff I would normally scrap and tidy up is still kicking around on the floor and the place is still a mess. Not really very much going on in the bar. I think I put a few lights in and that's about it. Kate getting in the way. So we have a pool table there, obviously pre-mods again, so all those pool balls had to be found the old-fashioned way and just dropped on there. That took some time if I remember rightly. A few occasions I did it. This little chill area, this is sort of, you may have noticed from the neon sign downstairs, the mess for the mercenary type settlers. I've got them all geared out that way. Sort of where they do their work and that sort of thing. Didn't have any terminals we could put on desks at this stage, so we're just using TVs to imply the effect. I seem to remember at the time I wanted to try and glitch a typewriter into them so it looked like they had a keyboard, but that was way beyond what I could do at the time. Starting to use a few different approaches to create sort of ways into rooms and things here as well. So we're starting to figure things out a bit. So instead of a normal doorway, we've got this little gap on the end of a wall there that serves the function. Up on the bridge over the gap between the two here. See down onto the little marina there. So it'd actually be a good place to stand and shoot down from, because there's a settlement attack spawn point down there. A couple more bedrooms over this side. Basically furnished, but gives the settlers somewhere to sleep. Get the door shut. The options available for building at this stage were pretty minimal, which is why everything is very, very wood heavy. Maybe contraptions had come out, thinking about it actually. But yeah, things are very, very samey. I've used a lot of the corrugated walls, with the idea being it sort of looks sturdier and more defensible. I didn't get very far with the decoration, which kind of bugs me. Kind of see out there though, that's kind of cool. We'll make our way outside, if I remember which way the door is. I seem to remember building a functioning walkway up here was particularly difficult, getting these stairs in and that sort of thing. I don't think they wanted to clip through, and then I wanted to get settlers to be able to path up here, and I have no idea whether I actually managed it or not, but we can walk around, so that's the main thing. This little side area is one of the few areas of dirt other than that front car park, which does have a bit on it, but it's sort of a very practical place to put a farm, which is why I've repeatedly done the same thing here in a way. And it's just out of sheer practicality. Bit of a nightmare there with the fences, unfortunately. I managed to get them in, but they are floating like crazy there. I have no idea what I was going to build there either. If I was going to build anything at all. I may have just used it as something to stand on so that I could see when I was building something else actually. See, I've sealed up the entrance there, put a little bridge in. And we have yet another floating building that's just perched right on the angle of the roof there. Yikes. And the stairway's floating as well, but yeah, we have got contraptions evidently as well, seeing as this is a warehouse piece. Warehouse build. Little workshop in here, got the iBot pod at the back there and the robot workbench. There's a little bit of junk decoration in here, but pre-mods, I'm sure you remember, it was an absolute nightmare. Some of you perhaps don't use mods now, so you'll probably know exactly what I'm on about. Hence the broom's fallen over. Not very much been done with this boathouse. I was going to turn it into a workshop, I think. I've never actually followed through on it, just sort of sealed it up. Stuck some stuff on the walls. So I think this must have been very recently after contraptions came out, looking at this, because I've used a few of the pieces from it, but very deep sunk down water purifier there that would not last very long. Yeah, I've used a few pieces from contraptions, but just sort of getting a feel for them, I think. Look outposts on that random encounter spawn point up there. This is a bit... Yeah, I'm not that pleased with how this looks, but at the time it seemed like a reasonably good solution to a problem. It does kind of work, that little guard post. It's kind of fun to look at how sloppy a lot of the building is on here, but yet knowing at the same time that it was starting to improve significantly as well, so kind of an interesting thing to see to me. So we've got a little cafe out on the deck there, which is not particularly interesting, it's just a few bits and pieces, and we'll move in here. So this is a sort of waiting area around the player character's office. As I said, it was modelled on Slade Wilson, so it's intended to be like a villain's meeting room. So his villain's lair. There we go. The waiting area outside to be as intimidating as possible. Lights on the floor to illuminate all the paintings and stuff. That strip light at the back there is pointing straight into the face of anybody who's sat in front of the desk, so it's supposed to be casting a shadow over him as he's sat behind the desk and making it as intimidating as possible for anybody who's come to visit. And of course, what would any superhero or villain's lair be without a hidden room for their equipment? So, behind all the plants here, using the limited resources we had at the time, we have a hidden electronic door. Powered door, that's the phrase I'm looking for. There's a bit of a trophy room and an armoury for him here. Got his various bits of armour and gear there that he's moving away from and towards. The combat armour on the left's the one he's actually equipped with at the time. Character's level 36, as it turns out. And I suspect a large portion of that came from building this. Probably a good 15-16 levels of it anyway. So there we go, a very, very basic sort of office, but it works. I seem to remember those skulls took forever to place on that shelf. I had no idea what to do with it, so it was an absolute nightmare to get them on there. In Arrow, Slade Wilson's rather fond of using swords, but they're not that effective really in Fallout, so most of the time he uses a sizable bladed baseball bat, which is brutally effective on this character if I remember rightly. Great fun to play. So a little bedroom there with the bed glitched into the bookshelves to make it look more interesting. Fortunately some fairly obvious clipping going on there. Might have been better if I turned it round. So we'll head on out and make our way over. Yeah, I hope that was an interesting thing to look at from the point of view where I started off at, around about the time I started the channel. It was my relative pride at the time in this build and feeling that I'd come on a long way. I was talking to a few people about it, which is why I thought, you know, YouTube is, or rather was suggested to me that YouTube might be the way to show people what I've been doing. And it led us to where we are today. So, I do hope that was an interesting look back for you. We've got a few cool ideas for what's coming up, I think, so we should have fun with that. For now, thank you very much for watching as always. If you did like this, do hit that like button for me. Social media links as always down in the description. I shall be speaking to you all very, very soon. Thank you very much.